Welcome back to Lunchtime Politics, and let's bring you some stories in brief. We begin with the Cross River State security here. The state governor, Professor Ben Ayade, has raised the alarm over the rate of insecurity in parts of the state in the build-up to the general elections. The governor decries the violence before the elections arising from political differences and says he is not desperate to return as governor in the March 2nd governorship election. Elsewhere, the River State Governor, Nyesom Wike, has led the state's campaign train of the People's Democratic Party to Kwere local government area, where the former Governor Rotimi Amaechi hails from. Well, the governor, who explained to the people that he is more keen to campaign for Atiku than himself, since he sees no challenge in his path. Also, Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo says President Muhammadu Buhari's integrity and credibility has not been controversial, recalling on Nigerians to sustain their trust in him. The Vice President was in Ekiti State to launch the Trader Money Scheme, which he described as an empowerment policy and initiative for Nigerian youth and the poor. He said a bank will be set up to support entrepreneurs in the country, as he advised Nigerians not to be deceived by dishonest people. Well, we did tell you about INEC saying it's uncovered plans by politicians to use food vendors for vote buying. And we also spoke earlier on the security issues. But let's get more on the assessment from the Transparency International, our guest, Mr. Awa Rafsanjani. And he joins us from our Abuja studios. A pleasure to have you. Let's quickly ask what you think about this new discovery by INEC. Food vendors, vote buying.
Yeah, it's very clear. Nigerians are seeing what is going on. For the first time, we have seen, official use of public funds, in the name of trade money to actually induce voters. Because this is not a program that was part and parcel of the manifesto of the ruling party. And it is not in our constitution. And it is not done 3 years ago. It is only done when it is about election time. So therefore, the allegation by many Nigerians that this is clearly a vote buying using public funds to do that, it goes contrary really to our constitution and to having a free and fair election.
So
I think that is why, INEC itself has seen this danger. So the vote buying we are seeing has transformed, to have more official recognition through the act that, unfortunately, we are seeing, some of the government agencies using public funds, despite the statement made by the president that public funds will not be used for his re-election campaign. But this, unfortunately, is contrary to what Nigerians are seeing. The recent, clip you just saw now, Vice President going to Ekiti to distribute traded money just some weeks to the election.
They've argued it's an empowerment initiative. Yes, they have argued that it's an empowerment initiative. Would you rather have them sit down and do nothing until elections are over?
No. If you have this, as a policy plan, you should have done it before the election, but not when it is some few weeks to the election. No matter what your good intention is, Nigerians will have different opinion about this. And if government was honest and sincere about this empowerment, they should have done this thing before the election, but not when it is election campaign. You mix election campaign with this distribution of the money. I think it is not a good advice. Whoever advised the government to do this, I don't think it is really a good advice, because even the opposition would use this as a way to protest and actually allege that it is vote buying. And clearly, this is really vote buying as far as I'm concerned.
So I'd like to ask you a final question. It's about 2 in 1. You followed the elections in Congo, the DRC. I mean, there were voting disruptions, there were irregularities, there were also missing electoral rolls, rain fell, and, elections were till really late at night. Do you think INEC is really looking at all of these issues and they're really prepared? And also your thoughts on the security ahead of the elections?
Well, I think, if INEC is determined to follow the rule of law to ensure that they, conduct an, election that is free and fair, that is transparent, that is not associated with any fraud, I think Nigerians will not engage in unnecessary disruption or violence. But once Nigerians, they begin to notice that there is going to be connivance to rig election in favor of another party, I think that is where you will have misunderstanding. But I also believe that INEC alone cannot be able to deal with this issue. They need the cooperation of the political parties, they need the cooperation of the security, they need the cooperation of the entire Nigerians, so that Nigerians can actually behave more responsibly. The security agencies can also behave responsibly without being biased. But once Nigerians begin to note that, the security agencies, the INEC, or the ruling party is trying to, maneuver to rig the election, that is when you are going to, create tension, in the process. But I believe that if all the stakeholders behave responsibly, the voters too, they will behave responsibly, and there will not be any cause for alarm.
Mr.
But as long as there is a, possibility of the INEC or security agencies or the ruling party to do anything that is contrary to the expectation of Nigerians and the international community, then there's likely going to be tension. And, I don't think, we can contain the kind of tension we are going to have. So in order not to have a repeat of what we have seen in Congo, INEC should ensure that they conduct a free and fair, non-violent election.
Thank you so much for your time on Lunchtime Politics. Well, on the story, we told you, INEC saying it's uncovered new plans by some politicians who are allegedly recruiting food vendors now to facilitate vote buying in the forthcoming elections. The chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, revealed this technique by politicians at a meeting with the European Union Election Observer Group in Abuja.
To have your concerns expertise. The attention of the Commission has been drawn to a new plan by some political actors to use food vendors around polling units with large voter populations as collection points for cash for votes, as well as other forms of material inducement to voters on election day.
Elsewhere, the Senate has adjourned plenary until Wednesday, January the 23rd, because of the absence of majority of lawmakers at plenary this morning. Only 6 senators were present at the Senate chamber as at 10:30 a.m. today, when Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki called for the resumption of legislative proceedings for the week. The Chief Whip, Senator Lushola Adeyeye, called for an adjournment because the number of lawmakers available couldn't form a quorum as required. It appears senators have abandoned the business of lawmaking to concentrate on preparations for the 2019 general elections. Well, how true is this? Our correspondent Terry Kumi gives us a hint on the situation. Hello, Terry.
Last week, when the National Assembly resumed from its Christmas break, they had plenary amid scanty numbers, owing to the fact that most of the lawmakers had gone to campaign for their re-election. And some major issues that could have been addressed last week were not addressed. For example, the 2019 appropriation bill, which was scheduled for second reading, had to be dropped because of poor circulation to members of the House of Representatives. So hopefully this week that's something that's going to come up, possibly today or anytime within the week that will come up. We don't have access to the order paper yet, but that will most likely come up. Another issue that Nigerians would be looking forward to is the agreement, the tripartite agreement on the new national minimum wage, which the presidency says will be submitted to the National Assembly on the 23rd. So hopefully that will also come up. And from some quarters, we understand that the National Assembly would do all it can to pass that as quickly as possible, because sometime in December, before they went on the break, they had urged the president to submit that to them so that they could quickly pass it to avoid a looming labor strike. From the National Assembly, Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Well, I guess one can say that things are really getting interesting. Well, that's it on Lunchtime at this time. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker.